preferable method of self-improvement is always self-awareness. If we can come to our own conclusions and recognize, hey, this is the area where we have a much room for improvement. We recognize our own level of toxicity and come to terms with the fact that we were participating in extreme level of toxicity towards another. When we or self-sabotage, because we do all sorts of things to destroy our own well-being, a whole lot of addiction issues and even anxiety and depression is sort of breeding ground for these kind of unconscious living, because we haven't dealt with something that is really require our attention. So it manifesting in our own lives. So we'll see how well we can deliver these thoughts and messages using the contrast between circumstances, and see if we can identify these things. And because we are the one who, there is no Messiah coming to save us. It's our own self-awareness, our own connection to the source, and we start improving and releasing things that is not serving us, that is low vibrational, that is toxic, so that we can transform into something more neutral, something more compassionate, empathy and kindness, and hopefully towards the frequency of joy and love. Let's see what happens. So when we are very familiar with speaking about toxicity, low vibrational, shadow parts of ourselves, and that identify things that is toxic. And with the words, we're very comfortable expressing these words, but I think it's time that we identify these factors, and individuals who are more prone to carry these frequencies, and the interactions that you have, and how we can sort of identify problem areas and find a way to sort of transform ourselves into a different layers of our existence, living in experiences like shallow experiences, like mundane things that we do every day, because humans are generally good. So we cook and we clean, we do daily chores, and we create a persona, the shallow persona, because we want to be perceived as a good people, kind people, gentle people. This is kind of maybe masking something inherently bothers you or need your attention, yet we get settled into go through life with shallow experiences and shallow, the lighter version of ourselves. The problem with that is when we hide things, mask things, maybe we're not even consciously aware, because people are really good at doing the right thing. I mean, for the most part, we are like that. We like to be helpful and smiling, kind, and trying to be model citizens. But if we're masking things through a scarcity, through jealousy, through envy, gaslighting, manipulating, forcing agendas to maintain the status quo, then it's not any kind of substantial recognition of what's really going on internally. But internal life, uh, we might not even have the slightest idea what we are speaking about. How do we even face these things? One of the easiest way to recognize when we are dealing with the Great Awakening, and we recognize in order for us to go through Great Awakening, we have to recognize there's a greater level of sleepiness, unconscious living, shallow existence. And when we know where we are at, it becomes much easier. Now, when we speak about these low vibrational parts, shadow parts that need our attention, we're indefinitely stuck speaking about it. We really don't know how to move forward. What we see a lot now coming into a dead end because we come into a halt. There's nowhere to go from there. There's no energetic flow because there isn't any kind of substantial healing or acknowledgement of our deeper layers of emotional foundation. So the lower spectrum of the emotional channels, when we know when energy is flowing, is not rigid. When you're happy, I'm a kind of person who likes to maintain peace and neutral and happy kind of existence. I've always been like that. So when we are so prioritizing your own well-being, we're not really going to have a really big circle around you. But it doesn't matter. We care about people. We care about as people in general, even though we are not really fan of being close to the humans and dealing with the human complicated struggles, because we recognize the patterns. It's much easier to guide people from a little bit distance because we recognize patterns. So if you're coming into a situation like the anger, the jealousy, the envy, grief, and the scarcity, you know immediately once you come into contact with these kind of emotional spiritual baggage, it's going to be either you let in and be uncomfortable feeling these things, or we're trying so desperately ignore and turn the other cheek because it feels discomfort. Now we're coming to something where we're going through something. Hey, I don't feel like, because we are very defensive, we're very argumentative, we're very now everybody else is the bad guy because we're feeling something uncomfortable, because it's the lifetime of belief system, it's the habits. Everyone's done this, grandparents done it, the parents done it, now we're going through the same thing. This is why it is so important for us to keep in mind we are dealing with the information spiritual warfare, and it's designed to designed to block blocking or making you feel uncomfortable and isolated and defensive. It is all by design. This is what the information warfare is all about. these con artists in the external world, they are doing a deliberate sabotage towards the human species, because the divide and conquer is really a real thing. How we are so confused, we are divided, the different human species, we are so untrusting, we are so confused, traumatized, scared, alone, and we can't really even think about trusting our intuition or gut feeling, because now we're once again it's by design to second guess your own built-in security system. So this is why it's really important for us to stay focused and navigate these. It's a really simple, but it's complicated, but it's really simple at the same time. And it's really not, it's just a matter of slight awareness, because instead of going into a defensive mode, if we start opening ourselves little by little, hey, these people care about us. These people are trying to speak about something valuable, and they have nothing to gain. Why are we so defensive? Why are we so separated? Why are we so divided when all the most human needs are very similar? So this is a good place to start. And when we speak about healing, it's really hard not to think about divine feminine and the role we have to play and to create healing and nurturing, because once again, it's really not normal to traumatize each other like your own human species. It's not a normal setup. If you observe in the animal kingdom, for example, they are really not going around and abusing their own kind, unless if it's a breeding. This is the fights and quarrels they have with a whole lot of integrity and fair fights, and to establish a sort of a role. And when we observe these things happen in the wildlife within the animal kingdom, how they don't have any kind of confusion regarding gender roles. They are really comfortable. They know there's a female, there is a male, and they are comforting each other. Some animals, they are staying around for a season, some of them for a lifetime, but they always do what is necessary by nature to the next generation. So I've a very early childhood, I've always noticed that the dogs in the big property land, there's these wild kittens, and the families always feed them so there's enough food and sort of shelter them and guide them through their life. And you see they have these little pups and little kittens, and how they nurture, they are feeding them, they're constantly bathing them, like to stimulate their senses and nurturing it. So all the time I've experienced my early childhood, I was really fascinated, and it's also healing for a little child who is watching these bond, these roles that the kittens going through the coziness in their mom's presence, and they kind of spend a lot of time. So I know in the human world, people say, well, come back to reality from the fantasy world. But the trauma body is also fantasy. It was there, it happened before, but if it's not current, you're imagining the magical, but also you call that a fantasy, but then also indefinitely going through cycles of trauma is also a fantasy. And we need to learn how to break these cycles and patterns and the roles. And I know the men out there working, doing all kinds of things, hard labor, everything they are going through, they're always doing something. And the women work too. I don't know why, because they have different roles, but instead we ignore everything that is required from us to have the most healthiest um, next generation. We are going to pay taxes and we're going out there to do labor. It's a never-ending cycles that we put ourselves through in this trauma-based setup, because they are siphoning energies. And because these dark masters are very clever, they know your worth, what is your energy worth, and your time. Time is how precious your time when you're doing your meaningful things. So we are so confused and so far away from realities, and so deeply into the sleepiness. Great awakening seems like another fantasy. But if you are really just get out of that shallow waters of information and dig a little bit deep and learn to see the contrast between these things, it's so much easier. So this is why we keep on trying with a different method, different dialogue, and so we can come into our own terms and recognize the education system, the healthcare, the financial system that is designed to keep you in deficit, education systems that really not teach you anything worthwhile to maintain a really magical life. It's extremely exhausting and time consuming matters that we go through. But if we see, for example, if you're highly educated, if you're highly high authority or title, it doesn't mean you have the perfect life. Perfect example, when I was working, very early on, something happened. These really high up, the nursing's got a categories, levels, and somebody, the patient care, the client care, the bottom bottom part, but then also there are people who maintain the control grid. So they will go and make these visits, pain management. Everyone go through, mostly when you're receiving any kind of services. We have a layers or set up. There are access to these systems, and sometimes they are not optional. They're just the way the setup is. When we are working with the healthcare problems, the patient care is the most important thing. How are we going to improve the vitality and health of a person? But we have these layers, and the person say a pain management, the nurse will come in and taking notes. They will ask a client, hey, can you please tell me what is your level of pain today, 1 to 10? And the client that was extremely distracted will say something like, hey, my pain is okay. It seems like you're in pain. Why don't you change that chair? It's probably better. You'll be more comfortable there, because this is really not that steady. And kind of distracted answers, or be cheeky a little bit because of the annoyance, my pain is fine. How is your pain? Seems like you're in pain. These are like a real encounters. We just pretend we don't hear, or we don't have reaction because it's really not professional, but it happens. And then the person would say to you like, hey, this is really not doing anything for me, this pain management. This woman always keep coming around asking me my pain tolerance level, 1 to 10. She calls to make an appointment, she calls to tell me what day it is, and then she calls again to tell me that she's going to be late or she's on her way, and then she calls me again. I'm at the door. This is enormous. This is really annoying. I can't go through with my own life. I have my own things to do, despite all the health challenges we're going through. It's really making me sick. I'm really unimpressed with this. So this is kind of things that humans have to go through by the external systems that is set up to, because of your own health care and well-being. But after years later, I have never forgotten how how unhappy this person was regarding these professional encounters. So how often, I would suggest, probably in a time I'd be like, hey, why don't you express how this is taking time away from your day and things that you want to do, and it's really not adding any kind of value to yourself. Why don't you perhaps have a discussion? And the client will be like, oh, no, we can't. I'm not going to be bothered. We had to put up with this in order to get any kind of support. So I'm just going to be a good little soldier. So they weren't feeling comfortable. The moral of the story is we go through these kind of setup so often in our life, and we really don't know the energetic time, energetic uh, energetic loss there because of your aggravation, your dissatisfaction. Same thing with the economic system. We're always offering magical things, but you are the one who had to go on deficit to maintain all these materialistic persona. Same thing with if you ever see children, they have 100 different toys, the dead things, the plastic things, the unlively things, and they always gravitate towards the human interactions. And we have to, the divine feminine, have a responsibility to figure out what we are doing. What is the purpose of these? We are spending money. There's a bags and bags full of plastic things when you just start your life, and you force them down those through. Even I had a couple of wooden toys when I was growing up, but it doesn't mean that we have to go through these access to promote personas, because we are not addressing, we're not nurturing, we are not making children feel safe and secure. By the time they are 8, 9 years old, they're really angry. Instead of buying a toy or being a manager of their life, because the most of the time its system is set up like to parents to be like the administrator, instead of loving connections, feeling secure and feeling nurturing. And I mean, I'm not raising any kids, so it's like, why would I even say anything about that? But it's the social structures, the problems we all have to deal with. And these people go out there making decisions, participating in systems to affect all of us. This is why it's really important that we have honest discussions and recognize the the own level of toxicity, the divine feminine uh, have a responsibility. A perfect example, I never came from a nuclear family. My parents were separated, and mother was elsewhere, father was somewhere else, I'm somewhere else with the extended family. uh, I had things that I needed, shelter, food, and clothing, and all of these things. But for a child, you need so much more. And I've always had this thing, but it's not the toxic, demonic, toxic feminines in the big house, but it's always um, now we have to be really careful. We don't want to be critical on other people's. It's not their responsibility to bring up somebody else's child, right? So, however, there were women who come into the work, my really early childhood in my the different country. They came in to do the work on the land and do some things, and they were like extremely compassionate and uh, nurture. Like uh, they will talk to you, they listen to you, they tell you a story, they make you laugh, and they make you feel really happy. So you're looking forward to see these people coming into employment purpose in to your own environment. So it wasn't something that I was allowed to do or supposed to do, but I've always found the way. And then, I mean, remember, the migrating is a journey. It's from the village or extremely remote countryside to a city, and then to a country. So it was a journey. But even in the city, I have things that I need, but you need so much nurturing when you're a young person. You're 11, 12, 13 years old. You're really confused. You're looking for this feminine role model. And you know these the housewives, ordinary nobodies, while everybody else go to work and doing their fancy jobs, they be like, yoo-hoo, come on, hey, you want to come over for breakfast? I'm gonna make something special for you. Come over. Why don't you jump up and come over? Close the doors and come over. And so you're really excited, and they nurture you, they love you, and they do that special divine feminine things because they recognize there is a need. They never ask for anything in return. They never got anything in return. They just nurture you and restore hopefulness, and so we won't become so contentious and bitter about life. So this is a happy experiences. So like this, we need to have a nurturing. And when we come here, we see what is happening in the external world. It's like everyone is a administrator, CEO. There is like not a whole lot of nurturing go into. We are doing things that needs to be doing, but like those little kittens, like those little puppies, you see the way they interact and how they nurture these youngsters. And you remember how, even watching them, how it made you feel. So in the modern world, we really go through thinking, oh, we just don't need any nurturing. We just like go through shallow existence because we're busy participating, going to school, going to classes, going to some more on the weekend. The children are really angry, and they don't feel safe. They are constantly struggling to find their way and find the correct way forward. So this is why it's really important for us to release that toxicity and start nurturing. And the divine feminine has a role when we don't see in the external world anything about healing, divine feminine and the responsibility and the creating, um, we have personal responsibility to uh, disconnect, um, doing a whole lot of plastic things and fake nails. They don't look uh, comfort. The discomfort you feel, you within the screen, you see that, and they'll be like, whoa, what kind of demonic pose is that? And it's scary. You just barely make a sandwich with the long things. It's really cringeworthy. So because the spiritual warfare is real, and we know these aren't healing divine feminines, and they're saying that the divine feminine is constantly under attack, but it's by design, by the devious dark masters. And the difference is now we are recognizing and identify who carry on with these characteristics. Remember, dark masters never come and do any of these things. They don't really know how to do anything. They just know how to siphon energies, and they're devious, they're cunning, and they're programming and manipulating and gaslighting and abusing, because the slave masters, that's what they do while everybody's doing this work. But the preferable method of self-awareness is so slow to come by. We have personal responsibility to recognize these patterns, identify them, put these things and notice and say, well, this is the energy siphoning individual here. And they can't, because they are not able to go through life without siphoning somebody else's energy, without creating some kind of a chaotic situation, and trying to pull you down into the uncomfortable existence from the low vibe place, instead of climbing up into a transformation and opening up another layer of information warfare. This is why we have to be proactive and start giving little nudges, because we don't really gain any friends by, or family members by doing that. It's so much easier to ignore, because um, another thing is, if we have any kind of closure with things, it would make a enormous level of difference in somebody's healing journey. But we will never acknowledge, hey, I could have been better. Even myself, I've been sometimes I be like, hey, I could have been a better friend. I could have but when you think about it, there's absolutely nothing. You're just a um, primary primal energies. There was despair and desperation and loneliness and scarcity. So there's really nothing there. You try to do what is necessary, but because you have awareness, you know all the physical needs are met and you have time and space, but you go into these deep depression and deep level of anxiety, and you're silently dealing with it, because we aren't going to go out there looking for somebody else to resolve our personal issues. We know that oh wow, this is the level of toxicity I had to go through, and I have no boundaries, I have no self-worth, I have no there's nothing left. So when you recognize these patterns, it becomes so much easier and comfortable. And when you identify patterns, you're not going to be just because we don't want to lose something, and it's become so difficult to maintain that level of deception, level of low vibrational frequencies and darkness, because we recognize the toxicity when the divine feminine do some kind of healing and releasing, they will be the one who is holding on that mirror, because the scarcity is not working. The silent treatment is really not that effective, and a complete disconnection. Nobody wants these things, but sometimes this is what happened when we have the light shining so brightly. The shadow just disappear, and these are so uncomfortable, sad circumstances, but unfortunately we had to confront these things. We whenever someone have a different ways of thinking, because we are maintaining the level of uh, neutral frequency, you're sort of comfortable, you're able to express yourself, be authentic, do your own thing. uh, so you're maintaining, you learn the way to maintain. So that's going to scare some people, that's going to upset the normal way of existence, in denial, in the shallow experiences. uh, and then we get hit with all this low vibe emotional trauma. The jealousy comes, anger comes, resentment comes, the envy comes, and we don't really know what to do with. And doesn't mean they are all bad people, but this is what Great Awakening uh, force us to do. And let's see if we can have a dialogue a little bit more in depth regarding the similar things, because we are forever struggling to release these few things that's lingering around. This is how we transform and open up another layer of existence, because we are open to for a dialogue. Thank you.